Cambodia, and Romania. The three social groupings held firm, only the proportions shifted. Why, I wondered, was Nazi Germany different? After all, hadn't we been told that German society underwent a wholesale conversion to Nazism overnight, to become a nation of murderers? One early revelation came at the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C., which wisely directs its visitors to tour the exhibit in sequence on a route that tracks the evolution of Nazism. The initial floor lays out the story of how Germany's struggling democracy was overcome in the early 1930s, and how its institutions were dismantled and subverted by the regime. I pursued my questions about Greta and Mildred at the same time that I explored the history of the society that forced them into such unlikely roles. In the minds of many Americans, World War II began in 1941. But there were many crucial historical lessons that unfolded long before Pearl Harbor. The Holocaust could not have occurred if the Nazis had not succeeded in purging the German legal system of its honorable judges and lawyers. The fascists had to intimidate and silence reporters, and turn the national media into vehicles for propaganda and mindless entertainment. The Nazis seized upon ongoing international tensions and used propaganda to inflate them into threats. Then they obliged Germans to prove their patriotism by supporting cruel, ill-considered wars that could not be won. Soldiers were ordered to violate the Geneva Conventions, and officers who protested this breach were marginalized or abruptly retired. One young member of Greta and Mildred's group expressed her impatience at the Germans' passivity concerning their crisis. "Everybody's talking about it," she said, "but nobody's doing anything." Why did these particular Germans decide to do something, I wondered. The stakes were unimaginably high. Most of the resistors paid for their convictions with their lives. I explored the differences in their motivations and conduct, using my first-hand observations in other countries as a point of departure. Who among the resistors shunned danger, and who found it appealing? How did the actions of young single members differ from older resistors who were married with children? How did individuals weigh the comparative consequences of exile, conformity, and opposition? How did the large percentage of women affect the group's identity? Underlying each line of inquiry was the question that haunts every book about Nazi Germany. How could they let it happen? This book is not directly about the Holocaust, but the event must cast its shadow over every account of the period. Greta and Mildred's circle had precious few resources to contest the massive evils of their time: the destruction of civil society, the mass slaughter of Soviet prisoners of war, or the Holocaust itself. But they risked their lives to do what they could. Many others, including powerful figures in London and Washington, could not say the same. Finally, I had to return to the question of why the story of this group was not better known in the West. This query led me into the thicket of Cold War politics that arose as soon as the war ended. The Gestapo had invented the idea of the Rote Kapelle as a Soviet conspiracy, and after the war, the Soviets, the Americans, and the surviving Nazis each exploited this misconception to further their own ends. In doing so, they distorted and diminished the historical legacy of this group for over 50 years. It took German reunification and a new generation of dedicated scholars to begin to set the record straight. I have relied heavily on a remarkable institution in Berlin, the Gedenkstätte Deutscher Widerstand, or German Resistance Memorial, and its scrupulously assembled archives and exhibits on the German resistance. I have also benefited from the work of Stefan Roloff, a brilliant artist and the son of a member of the group, who assembled a remarkable documentary and book about his father's experiences. Wherever possible, I have let my characters speak for themselves through their writings and memoirs. The circle was made up of intellectuals and wordsmiths, and their voices render a unique sense of their time. Early on, I decided to frame the story through Greta Lorca-Kukow. First, because she was the connecting link between so many of the other participants, and second, because she was one of the few who lived to tell the story. I had to make a certain leap in citing her memoirs. The book was published in East Germany, and even though she had occupied a prominent public position, she fought a losing battle with the Communist Party over the right to tell her own